Well, welcome to another night of Reality in Albuquerque. We are going to be starting a new series, and this series is one that actually came by request. So what we're doing is we're actually taking a look at relationships in the Bible and just going through, beginning the Bible to the end, and looking at these different relationships in the Bible and seeing what we can learn from them. The cool thing about them is that these are real life examples, and so the problems that they face are very real and very relevant to today. And the lessons that we can learn from these relationships really are invaluable. And so my goal is going to be to try to bridge the gap from thousands of years ago to today so that we can relate to these people. And of course, the first example is going to be Adam and Eve. Now, before I get started, I just want to say that I am going to try to make it somewhat more relatable. And please, if you get offended in any way by what I say, let me know in the comments. But certainly not my intention to offend anybody. So to set the stage for Adam and Eve, right, we're starting with creation, which is kind of cool. It's very cool. So God created everything, and he saw that it was good, and it was really good, and he was just dang proud of it, right? And he's looking at everything, and he's saying to himself, this is awesome. There's molecules and cells, there's sunsets, there's planets and stars and galaxies and whales and dinosaurs and dogs, and it's awesome, right? It's just an awesome universe. So he's looking at all this, and he says to himself, well, this is awesome. Someone needs to check this out because I am awesome, I am. And I'll make someone that can live here, who can understand and appreciate the beauty and take care of it, I am. And very excited about it. So what he does is then he makes man. And it says that God formed man from the dust of the ground and then breathed life into him. And then he took man and he put him in the Garden of Eden. And he said, hey, this is where you're going to work, and this is going to be what you take care of. So work it, garden it, take good care of it. But he told him one thing. He said, Adam, you can eat anything that grows here, but do not eat from that tree over there. You eat from that tree and you'll die. I'm sure of that, I am. One simple rule. So Adam goes to work, and now we'll say something about the earth at this time. We do believe that the earth at this time is what we call the greenhouse earth. Right? So what we believe is that the world was covered in a cloud at this time. Just a thin cloud. And it did a couple of things. One, it filtered out UV, so everyone was able to live longer. But also it allowed for more oxygen to be in the atmosphere. Which means that we could have bigger animals, we could have larger plant life, and people were very likely a bit larger back then. And certainly had the potential to be larger. Now, this was also caused another thing. The place that Garden of Eden is, we believe, is more than likely Mesopotamia. And what this greenhouse earth would have done is, in this region, it would have created this kind of perpetual springtime. Now, one of Adam's jobs was to name the animals. And I don't know if you know a whole lot about animals in springtime. If you've seen the film Bambi, animals tend to get a bit Twitter-pated during the springtime. So you can imagine he's working in this garden, we don't know how long, maybe hundreds of years, alone, naked, with all these Twitter-pated animals. Anyways, clothes weren't worn until the fall, right? He was naked. But whenever he starts wearing clothes, he's always drawn, I've seen the pictures, right? He's always put in a kilt, like this animal skin type kilt thing that God, I guess, made for him. Pretty much, definitely Scottish. We know that. I mean, probably more Highlander than James Bond, but definitely Scottish. Who else wears a kilt? Anyways, so you can imagine that during one of their daily walks, Adam's kind of he's thinking about this, right? He's thinking about all these Twitter-paid animals, and he says to God, he says, Lord, I've been seeing for years now, these animals, they tend to pair up, and when it happens, I know it happens whenever they do, and it's beautiful. Don't change a thing. Who doesn't love baby animals? They're great, but I don't really have anyone for me. But I could see you gave me the equipment for it, and, glory to you, obviously. You blessed me. So, do you think I might, use it? To your glory, obviously. And God says to himself, it is not good for this guy to be alone. I want to make him a suitable helper, I am. That's what I'm going to do. So God took a piece of Adam's side. Traditionally, we say it's his rib. Bible's very much unclear about this. And then he created Eve, right? So this picture of being one flesh comes from the symbol of marriage for the future, right? They came from, they're of one flesh, and this is the symbol of marriage. And they felt no shame, right? They're naked in their garden and they're having a grand old time. No shame whatsoever. Frolicking to, whatever. So everything about this so far is just beautiful, right? It's like this dream, these two people walking in the Garden of Eden with God every day. And God just brings them animals every day so they can name them, and they take care of the garden, and they work it, and they keep it all awesome, and it's pure, unadulterated communion with God all the time. But what happened? Well, there came a time, and again, we don't know how long they were in the garden, when Adam and Eve came upon the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that God told them they must not eat of. And when they were around this tree, a snake appeared. Kind of a creeper. I always imagine this little guy. I don't know what the snake looked like. But, he slithers on up to Eve. Snake in the grass, maybe that's where the phrase comes from. And he looks at her and he says, "What's up, girl? You look a little hungry. Why don't you come over here and take a bite of this fruit over here? It's good." And Eve says, "Well, I shan't. Oh, I shan't take of the tree. I couldn't possibly. I'd certainly die, no." "Girl, you won't certainly die, girl. It's good. I'm gonna make you stronger. I'm gonna make you powerful. You're gonna be just like God, girl. You're gonna know his secrets. Oh, don't worry, big boy. I know she'll share with you. It's good." "Well, perhaps just a teensy bite." "Oh, yeah, good. Let's not get crazy. It's just a bite. It's good." So she took a bite. "Adam, well, try some of this." "Well, I suppose if you have, yeah." And so Adam takes a bite. Now I imagine this bite, and I imagine the juice running down his face like blood and dripping off. And I imagine his eyes opening and the world around him dimming. And then he looks at his wife and he says, What are you doing naked? I gotta put some clothes on. Great eating, I'm naked too." And of course, God comes. Adam, we gotta hide. He can't find us naked." And so God let him hide. And he called to them again. "Adam, I'm looking for you, I am. I'm here, Lord. Why are you hiding?" "Well, we were embarrassed, being naked and all." "Who told you you were naked?" What have you done?" "Or is this woman he gave me? He had nothing but trouble, these." Why have you done this, Eve?" I can't. It was the snake. It deceived me." You, snake, will be cursed among all the animals, and you will crawl on your belly forever. I'm making sure of that, I am. And you, Eve, because you gave birth to this disobedience. Your childbirth will not be like those of the animals you care for. You will not sleep through it like the bear. You will not dance like the elephant. You will cry out in the worst pain you will ever feel. The pain you have caused me today. I'm making sure of that, I am. And you, Adam, because you stood by and did nothing to stop her, I'll make sure you never rest again. The ground will be cursed and you will have to work it just to survive. And nature, my creation, will turn against you. You will work not to enjoy the world, but to survive it. Why, Adam? Why didn't you love me enough? Why was I, all of this, not enough? I am beyond pain, I am. But I'm still in love with you. I am. And then God said to himself, well, we can't let them eat also of the tree of life. These bodies, they're staying now. They'll live forever and they'll never be able to save the souls inside. I'll never be able to hold them to me again. I'm going to spare them their separation. I am. Adam, get out of my garden. Take your wife. I'll protect you. Here, use these animals' skins as clothes. I will not stop looking for you. I'm going to bring you back home. I am. And so they left. And they lived out their days, toiling. Worshipping God the rest of their lives, but toiling. They had children who had more children, and they filled the earth, and their children, just like them, were prideful. And they killed each other. But they told their stories to the generations so that we could know what living in love was like. So, what can we take away from Adam and Eve? Well, I think there's 8 principles that we can take away from Adam and Eve. 4 from paradise and 4 from after the fall. The first is this: paradise is having fellowship with God daily. Having fellowship with God daily. That's the first thing we can learn. That's what paradise is. Paradise is also, number 2, working alongside the person you love with a common purpose. Working with a common purpose. That's part of paradise. 3, paradise is freedom from shame. There is no shame in paradise. We're told they felt no shame. And 4, paradise is submission to God's will. Paradise is living in submission to God's will. Now, after the fall brought a lot of things. The fall brought, number 1, it brought separation from God. We had union with Him before the fall. 2, it brought animosity with nature and disunion with other people. Animosity with nature and disunion with other people. That's the second thing the fall brought. Number 3, guilt and the pain of knowing that we have fallen short of our purpose. The fall brought the guilt and the pain of knowing that we have fallen short of our purpose. It's called the Xanax Nation nowadays. Man, number 4, the fall brought pride and contempt for the authority of God. Pride and contempt for God's authority. That was the 4th thing that the fall brought. So before what we learn from Adam and Eve is how to live in paradise and what happens whenever we are falling. And we can recognize very quickly the difference. Are we having fellowship with God daily, or are we separating ourselves from God? Are we working alongside the person we love with a common purpose, or is there animosity? Is there disunion? Do we feel free from shame, or do we feel guilt? And do we feel pain? Are we living in submission to God's will, or do we have pride and do we have contempt for God's authority? Paradise or the fall? I know I'll choose paradise if I have the choice. We'll leave it there, and we'll pick it up next time. Take care.